What still matters? The week of June 6, 2026. AI keeps getting cheaper to run, and that matters more than any of this week's new models. GPT 5.5, Gemini 3.5 Flash, and Claude Opus 4.8 all shipped, but there's a frontier model every few weeks now, so the launches themselves are churn. The signal is the cost. On June 1st, Minimax released M3, an open-weight model with a 1 million token context window. By its maker's figures, a new sparse attention design cuts the compute per token at that context length to about a 20th of their previous model, and decodes roughly 15 times faster. Independent benchmarks are still thin, so treat the exact numbers as the company's own, but the direction is consistent. Running large models is getting cheaper, fast. For years the hard part of AI was raw capability. As that limit falls away, the real question becomes what companies actually do with all this cheap capacity, and over the coming months that shows up as more of them putting AI into more of their work. The second shift is from chatbots to agents. Most of this year's serious effort is going into systems that don't just answer a question but carry out a whole task. They plan the steps, operate other software, and return a finished result, with a person reviewing the output instead of doing each step by hand. Open models are part of the same move, getting smaller and more specialized rather than trying to do everything. This one is a read on the direction rather than a single event, but the agents are a better guide to where AI is heading than the next chat release. Third, regulators have started moving on software that manages people, and the clearest example this spring was Meta. Meta rolled out an internal program it calls the Model Capability Initiative, which puts software on U.S. employees' work laptops to record their keystrokes, mouse movements, and on-screen activity. That activity becomes training data, so Meta's own AI agents can learn to do office work. In other words, the company is watching how its staff work in order to teach AI to do their jobs. When employees objected, the Chief Technology Officer, Andrew Bosworth, told them there was no opt-out on a work laptop. After weeks of backlash, Meta scaled the program back on June 1st, adding a 30-minute pause and a way to request an exemption. The regulation is starting to catch up. Colorado's AI Act, which takes effect in the middle of this year, and a new Illinois law both restrict how AI can be used in hiring and firing, and bipartisan bills in Congress would require human oversight and disclosure when AI is used in decisions about workers. If your company uses AI to judge employees, this is the thread to follow before it becomes a legal requirement. Fourth, the larger geopolitical picture is competition crowding out cooperation. The World Economic Forum's Global Risks Report for this year names geoeconomic confrontation, meaning trade wars, sanctions, and export controls, as the single biggest global risk, ahead of outright armed conflict. The broader pattern is that international agreements are weakening as governments pull back from shared institutions. The clearest case is the United States and China. They paused their tariff fight last autumn, but never touched the structural disputes underneath, technology export limits and Taiwan, and those remain unresolved. This is the backdrop that supply chains, technology, and trade will operate within for the next several years. Fifth, a slower crisis that rarely makes the headlines: water, and how little of it is governed. In April of last year, after a militant attack in Pahalgam, India put the Indus Waters Treaty into abeyance, suspending the agreement that had divided the rivers it shares with Pakistan since 1960. It is still suspended. India's Home Minister has said the country will never restore it, and Pakistan calls cutting its water an act of war. In September, Ethiopia inaugurated the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam on the Blue Nile, the largest hydroelectric dam in Africa, with no binding agreement with Egypt or Sudan over how it fills and operates. And in July, China began building what will be the world's largest hydropower dam, on the Yarlung Tsangpo in Tibet, with no treaty governing the river it shares with India and Bangladesh as it becomes the Brahmaputra. Each of these decisions affects water and electricity for tens of millions of people. Each was made unilaterally, and none has a framework to manage the disputes it creates. None of it is urgent this week, but these are the setups for conflicts that will run for years. That's what still matters this week.